Listen, can you hear it? The rhythmic strike of a blacksmith's hammer against cold iron, followed by the scratching of a philosopher's quill on parchment. These are the two sounds that have defined the heart of Europe for centuries. Germany isn't just a country on a map. It is a living paradox. It is the birthplace of the most beautiful symphonies and the most devastating wars. Tonight, we aren't here for a simple history lesson. We are here to understand how a land of 300 tiny kingdoms transformed into a single, unbreakable force. This is the story of the Iron and the Rose. Welcome to Mindflow English. Let the journey begin. Our journey begins 2 millennia ago, deep within the dark, mist-shrouded depths of the Teutoburg forest. To the Roman Empire, these lands were the end of the civilized world, a terrifying wilderness inhabited by untamable tribes. In the year 9 AED, a Germanic leader named Arminius, who had been raised in Rome and trained in their military tactics, led 3 Roman legions into a masterfully crafted trap. This wasn't just a military victory, it was the birth of a foundational myth. The Germanic forest became a symbol of mystery, resistance, and raw strength. This victory ensured that Germany would never be fully Romanized, preserving a unique cultural identity that would later haunt and inspire German art, music, and folklore for centuries to come. Fast forward to the Middle Ages, an era of knights, stone cathedrals, and the Holy Roman Empire. As the philosopher Voltaire famously remarked, this entity was neither holy, nor Roman, nor an empire. It was a decentralized web of prince-electors, powerful bishops, and independent cities. Imagine a landscape where every valley spoke a different dialect and followed a different lord. Yet within this fragmentation, a specific trait began to emerge: the German precision in craftsmanship. From the intricate plate armor of the nobility to the first mechanical clocks atop town halls, the German spirit was already becoming obsessed with the harmony of moving parts and the beauty of structural order. In a modest workshop in the city of Mainz, around the year 1440, Johannes Gutenberg triggered a silent explosion. He didn't just invent a machine, he unlocked the collective human mind. By creating movable type, he made the mass production of knowledge possible for the first time in history. This was the moment the rose of German philosophy began to bloom amidst the iron of the medieval world. Ideas could now travel faster than a horse could gallop. The printing press allowed Germany to become an intellectual hub, laying the groundwork for a culture that deeply worshipped the written word, the university, and the pursuit of abstract truth. However, with the spread of ideas came the spread of conflict. In 1517, a monk named Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses to a church door in Wittenberg, and Europe was irrevocably cracked in half. What followed was the 30 Years' War, one of the darkest nightmares in human history. Germany became the primary battlefield for the great powers of Europe. Entire regions were depopulated, and 1/3 of the people vanished amidst famine and plague. This profound trauma left an indelible mark on the German psyche. It birthed a collective longing for stability and a deep-seated fear of chaos, which is why, even today, the German concept of Ordnung, order, is treated with almost religious respect. Out of the ashes of the religious wars rose a small, sandy, an unlikely state in the north, Prussia. Under the leadership of Friedrich the Great, Prussia became a unique social experiment, an army that possessed a country rather than a country that possessed an army. Frederick himself was a walking paradox. He was a brilliant flute player who wrote poetry in French and corresponded with Voltaire, yet he commanded the most disciplined and feared soldiers in Europe. He perfectly embodied the dual nature of Germany, the delicate rose of the artist and the cold iron of the soldier, coexisting within a single, disciplined soul. Imagine a man with a towering presence, a legendary mustache, and a mind that operated like a chess grandmaster. This was Otto von Bismarck, the Iron Chancellor. In 1871, through his policy of blood and iron, he finally unified the German states into a single empire. Suddenly, Germany was no longer a collection of small towns. It was an industrial titan. Within decades, it was outperforming the world in steel production, engineering, and chemical science. The Second Reich was born, and with it, a new sense of national pride that felt unstoppable. Berlin transformed into a global metropole, a city of light, power, and ambition. After the devastating tragedy of the First World War, Germany entered a strange, chaotic, and beautiful era known as the Weimar Republic. 1920s, Berlin became the most avant-garde city on Earth. It was a place where Albert Einstein's theories redefined the universe, where Marlene Dietrich's voice redefined glamour, and where jazz clubs pulsed with a desperate energy. It was a decade of total intellectual freedom, but also total economic fear. The rose was blooming in a garden filled with broken glass and hyperinflation. The fragility of this democracy would eventually lead to the most catastrophic turning point in the history of the world. We cannot tell the story of Germany without looking directly into the darkness of the 1930s and 40s. The rise of a totalitarian regime showed the world what happens when the iron of a nation loses its moral rose, its soul. This chapter reflects on the weight of collective memory. After the horrors of the Holocaust and the destruction of World War II, Germany had to perform a task no other nation had done, Vergangenheitsbewältigung, or coming to terms with the past. It is a profound lesson in how a nation must confront its own shadows and take responsibility for its history in order to ever walk in the light of democracy again. After 1945, the world witnessed one of the most surreal spectacles of the 20th century, a wall built through the heart of a great city, dividing families, ideologies, and futures. For 40 years, there were two Germanys. The West experienced the Wunder am Rhein, the economic miracle, becoming a symbol of capitalist success, while the East lived under a strict socialist system. This era tested German resilience to the limit. Despite the division, the people never stopped seeing themselves as one nation waiting for its heart to be reunited. It was a cold, silent struggle between two worlds, separated by a line of concrete and barbed wire. November 9th, 1989. The sound of thousands of people singing, crying, and striking the Berlin Wall with hammers. This was the Wunder von Berlin, a peaceful revolution that proved that even the strongest walls cannot withstand the human desire for freedom. Germany didn't just reunite its land, it began the agonizingly slow but beautiful process of reuniting its spirit. The nation chose to move away from the iron of military conquest toward a new identity, a green Germany, a leader in renewable energy, European integration, and humanitarian values. It was a moment where the world realized that scars can indeed heal. Today, Germany stands as a land of solar panels, high-tech engineering, and deep social responsibility. It remains the land of Bach, Beethoven, and Goethe, but it is also a land that has learned that strength without empathy is hollow. As you master the English language, think of the German story. It is a narrative of falling down and rising up, of dark forests and bright laboratories, of iron and rose. Thank you for staying in the flow with Mindflow English. Your journey toward fluency, much like history itself, requires patience, discipline, and a heart open to discovery. Every word you learn today is part of the future you are building. Goodbye for now.